Hi, my name is Cody Sipe with the Functional Aging Institute. In our facility, we train for balance in pretty much everything that we do. We take a multidimensional, holistic approach to balance training that incorporates many different aspects that are important for balance. This is also the same approach we teach in our Functional Aging Specialist certification. However, sometimes we get a reminder that the simplest advice is often the best. A few years ago, Pommy McFarland, one of my colleagues, told me about one of her clients who came in for her balance training program. She ran a community balance training program that worked on fall prevention. And a client came in interested in the program. He described to her his last year and that he had fallen multiple times over the past year and never really seriously injured himself, but was very concerned about the possibility of becoming injured and possibly breaking a hip or hitting his head. And so Pommy asked him, well, why don't you describe to me what happens when you fall? The gentleman described to her this process of how, he would be doing something and he would typically trip and he would slowly go forward and he'd be reaching for things to try to stop himself and thinking, what do I do? And then he would hit the floor. Well, Pommy gave him this advice. Well, listen, the next time you trip, and you're flailing about trying to figure out what to do, tell yourself, hey dummy, take a step. And the man was a little perplexed by that advice, but said, okay, and left without much further discussion. Well, she didn't see him for a while, but a few weeks later he came back and he was all excited. And he told her, he goes, look, I was in my house, I tripped, and as I was going through the slow motion falling routine, I heard your voice in my head say, hey dummy, take a step. And so I did. I took a step, I stumbled a little bit, but I didn't fall. And he was so excited about that. Sometimes it is the little things that can make a big difference. While ideally we want to take a comprehensive multidimensional approach to balance training, there are also some simple things that you can do with your clients and that you can tell them to do in order to make them safer so that they don't fall. For example, reduce their medications. People that are on 4 or more medications of any kind have a much greater likelihood of falling, especially if they're on antihypertensive medication or any psychotropic medication. Okay, these are especially dangerous. So if they're on medications, they can speak to their doctor about reducing their medications. Making sure there's safe lighting in their home. Oftentimes falls will occur when there is dim lighting. And so individuals, as their visual input is already not so great, in a dim lighting situation, now they have to rely more on their vestibular system and on their somatosensory system. And if those aren't working properly, because those decrease with aging as well, then they're more likely to fall. Securing loose things like clutter around the area, making sure that it's clean, there's no cords, there's no wires, there's no rugs that are in the way anywhere and balled up. This is also going to help them so that they don't fall in their home. And lastly, teach them to be confident. Give them the confidence they need, because we know that balance confidence itself is associated with fall risk. The less a person has confidence in their ability, the more likely they are to fall. In fact, I dealt with a woman for a long time, trained her for several months. She was out walking to the bank. She did so quite often because her neighborhood was right around the corner. And she happened to trip on a crack in the sidewalk. The sidewalk had broken, it was a little bit uneven. She tripped and fell and hurt herself. And now she was just terrified of falling again. Well, I would have her doing exercises that involved weight shifting. So I had some dots on the floor. She would step forward onto a dot, then she would step backwards onto a dot, forward onto a dot and backwards onto a dot, just kind of weight shifting back and forth. Well, she was so scared of falling that I would tell her, okay, Dottie, now step forward. And she would very hesitantly, look down and think about it and shake. And then she'd take a step forward and you could see she would literally just kind of go, whoosh, I did it, right? I didn't fall. Well, when I would engage her in conversation and get her talking about something and then have her do the exercise, she would go through it with ease. She would just be stepping back and forth, weight shifting without any problem. Then when she realized what she was doing, she would freeze back up again. It was really her fear that was keeping her from performing appropriately. And so therefore, her risk of falling would just continue to stay high until she gained more confidence. So these are just some simple things that you can do with your clients to help them reduce the risk of falls and improve their balance. So next time a client comes in and tells you about how they fell, you might want to give them the advice that Palmy gave them. Say, hey dummy, take a step. If you'd like more information on balance training and on the functional aging training model or how to become a certified functional aging specialist, please click the link below.